Welcome to The Rundown, everybody, in partnership with thepostgame.com and TYT Sports. David Katz, Victor Tree, Jason Rubin. So, broadcasting is an art form. It really is, and it could either at least make or break how we enjoy the game experience. I've always watched ESPN by turning it on mute, playing music, so I can just watch the highlights and not listen to any of them talk. But I've also felt that certain broadcasters do an excellent job. The Los Angeles Clippers announcer, for example, over the radio, can make a basketball game interesting, whereas it's always been a baseball's biggest art form is over the radio. But when it comes to the NBA Finals, we know it's going to be on ABC, and we know that they're going to have the same. I'm pretty sure Marv Albert will be either the voice of the finals. He's always been a great voice for the NBA. And there's always the Bob Costas of the world, but there's also a whole plethora of crap that gets put out there, and I think it takes away. So, Victor, we're going to start with you. First, we're going to go with we're going to have a nice little trifecta: sideline reporter, color commentator, and then the big voice, the broadcaster. Who is your sideline reporter? You can take any of them that you would like to see interviewing the coaches and players during the game.
Well, this is not an outlandish pick. I'm going to go with Craig Sager, his wardrobe notwithstanding, but little known fact that when Craig Sager was in college, he dressed up at Northwestern as Willie the Wildcat. So that alone gets him the vote in my book. Will he be dressed
up as Willie the Wildcat?
Even better.
Oh, there we go. I actually like that. The mascots could be sideline reporters. That would be interesting. David?
I'm going to go with a little curveball here. I want a little more entertainment value. I think when you go to the sideline, these coaches aren't giving you anything anyway. Cut to, Popovich and all these guys. Mm-hmm. So let's make it entertaining. I like Denis Rodman. I think Denis Rodman should be on the sideline because you never know what he's going to ask. He's recently come back from Korea, so I'm sure he has a much bigger worldview now. And I think he might even surprise you with a question about basketball.
That's fantastic. That's actually one of both of those, mascots and Denis Rodman. Here's the
biggest. In fact, it should be the NWO Denis Rodman.
So here's the biggest question: what color is Denis Rodman's hair?
I think it changes based on the game and the city he's in.
Oh, very smart.
I think you cannot have him as a sideline reporter without having a hair and makeup person go along for the ride with him.
Right.
Well, in the same way that Craig Sager, what is he going to wear today? Same thing with Rodman's hair. What hairstyles is he going to show up with today?
We won't know. Maybe that's part of the beauty of having this
America should be able to vote for the suit that Craig should wear and the hair that Dennis should have.
I think I would go with a beautiful mix of blue and orange for the Mets and the Knicks. Victor, we need a color commentator, not the main voice, but somebody who's going to offer a little bit extra to go along with what would normally be Marv Albert, but not in this case. Who would you choose as your color commentator?
I would choose Hubie Brown because it feels like you are learning basketball at a clinic when he speaks. And the guy's over 80 years old, and he still has an incredible zest for the game. And I love it when he talks about power basketball, and sometimes he's berating some of these players. He's like, you cannot go off soft to the front of the rim. You must attack the front of the rim with two hands.
That's fantastic.
He's so old, he still talks about the mic and drill when he's doing these broadcasts.
The what?
So, the mic and drill, exactly. Let's talk to the Gen Z millennial right here. Yes, the mic and drill. George Mikan, you'll look him up. You'll Google him afterwards.
Yeah, George Mikan I do know of. The mic and drill I am not too familiar with.
The quick little mic and drill. It's how you work on your layups as a big man.
I have some studying to do. David, I need a color commentator.
I mean, this is going to seem pretty obvious, but I think you want to get Charles Barkley out of the studio and bring him courtside.
Yes.
I want to hear what this guy has to say during the game. I love what he does after the game. I think he's the freshest commentator in all of sports, and I'd listen to him talk about basketball, curling, fencing. I don't care what the sport is. I want to hear what Charles Barkley has to say about it. But getting him in the game, because he actually really does know the game, on top of his personality and the humor, he's a great basketball mind. He's been there, and I'd love to hear what he has to say.
I like that. That's actually, Charles Barkley has always been honest. And that's something very rare you find in all
He speaks truth to power, which probably explains his relationship with Michael Jordan right now. But he's not afraid. He will call it as he sees it.
That's very, very true. All great. We have a nice little stack of sideline reporters and color commentators, but that leaves, of course, the big voice. Who is going to power the broadcast home? Victor, who is your broadcaster for the NBA Finals?
I was thinking about this, and maybe just for comedic value, if you could resurrect Johnny Most from the dead, who used to be the Celtic broadcaster, that Dave was talking about, you want somebody funny, and I remember there's a great clip of him when the Celtics went to play Europe, in Europe. They were playing against a Yugoslavian team, and Johnny Most is having all kinds of problems with the names of the players on the Yugoslavian club. So he eventually starts going, all right, the big guy gets it to the lefty, he swings it back out to the little guy. He just gave up on the names. But from a serious standpoint, I would still have to go with Marv Albert. He is Mr. Basketball. And just some of his phrases have just become baked into the NBA experience. And almost you can predict some of the times what he's going to say, but it still feels very comfortable. And you feel very at home when he says that, like, Jordan, able to go glass.
Right. Of course, Marv Albert has been a staple to the NBA Finals, and as you just mentioned, the NBA for so long. David, I need a broadcaster. I need a power voice.
You guys are such New Yorkers. It's unbelievable. You know, my number one choice would be Victor Chi, but he's locked up in a long-term deal, so he's not available for this. My number two, if you want to go back, and I don't even know if he did basketball. He may have never done basketball, but the iconic Howard Cosell. I would love to see Howard Cosell and Charles Barkley doing the play-by-play and the color commentary, because that's the only way that would get me through a Hawks Houston Rockets finals. I would watch the entire finals if those two teams were in it and those were the guys calling it, with, of course, Denis Rodman.
Maybe you could find a way to overdub Charles Barkley's post-game analysis over the next game for the Houston versus Atlanta finals.
I'm sure there's a
if that were to happen.
6-year-old kid out there who knows Vine and Instagram, and he'll whip that together
They
for
could
us.
be 12 or 18 years old, too.
A little old, but...
Right. There is one person
He could call Charles Barkley Old Chuckaroo.
The old Chuckaroo.
He's had many nicknames throughout his career. There is one person that I wanted to throw out there who I thought would have been an amazing either color commentator or broadcaster, and that is the late, great Stuart Scott, who I grew up with as my SportsCenter anchor my entire life and look up to him as a commentator just for SportsCenter alone. I've always felt that he would be able to bring a unique ability to broadcasting, and he always had a great voice for it. He was always fun to, at least when any big play would happen, all his catchphrases, he had so many of them. But a little homage, a little tribute to Stuart Scott, who deserves all of the accolades that he has won and been awarded with throughout his career. All great broadcasting. By the way, get rid of sideline reporters. That's something that we've been discussing on TYT Sports for a while. They're useless. But if you get Denis Rodman, or who do you have, Vic?
I had Craig Sager as Willie the Wildcat.
As Willie the Wildcat. Yeah, that's totally fine. We can keep that. Guys, leave all your broadcasters, sideline reporters, and color commentators that you would so much rather see than whatever they're going to throw up there for the NBA Finals this year in the comments section below. Click the glass of water to subscribe to the post game. Click the coffee mugs to subscribe to TYT Sports. That's Victor. That's David. I'm Jason. What are you trying to click
Clicking.
it?
We need more subscribers. Click it.
Clicking. Follow David.